Detroit is different, 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 different. Detroit is different, Detroit is different.
Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And I got a guest. We've been coordinating this one longer than you guys would expect, but he actually is one of the first people to really see the vision of Detroit is Different, support it, and even when we first had a conversation about this, he saw so much more of what could become of Detroit is Different before I did. So I know you guys are thinking like, who could he be talking about? A brother that definitely has a lot of experience knowing the value of preserving, honoring, and platforming the culture of our people. And when I say our people, Black people for sure, but specifically what's coming from the Black Detroit experience. And if you've ever met him, you probably meet him with a traveling museum. And some of the pieces in his archive are pieces that so many of us have touched, but the probability of us keeping it in a condition that it can be used is not probably happening. So you look at it and you think to yourself like, damn, it's value in this. And he has a traveling museum. And the iterations of the growth of that from my introduction now years ago to today, traveling to universities, definitely across the nation, even international ties and so much more. You probably know somewhat of who I'm talking about. And also I got to say doctor. Mm-hmm. And not doctor like, you know, the colloquialism, like everybody say doctor, but like, or Dr. J, and shout out to Dr. J. I'm talking about a real doctor, the Ph.D. in the work that he's been doing the longest of time. With that, Khalid, how you feeling?
Man, I'm honored to be here with you in the studio, bro.
Thank you.
I gotta say again, man, I'm proud of where you're at with this, bro. Mm-hmm. You've been doing it for a long time, and we've been talking about having this interview for a long time.
Yes.
So I'm very happy to be here with you today, bro.
Yep, but always embrace the phone calls we have, because we definitely, most people know I can talk, hence that's where this fits. But, you know, we can have an hour, 2-hour conversation just catching up on different things and learning so much of you're one of 3 guests that have come to Detroit is Different that knew the drum poster outside. If you guys ever come here, I think you guys need to check that out and read it, because the Dodge Revolutionary Workers was something big.
Indeed.
Amongst so many other things in Detroit. So these Detroit is Different always start with your roots and your people. So how many generations deep are your people to the D?
So on my father's side, my grandparents come in around the 30s or 40s from East St. Louis. Yeah. And then on my mother's side, my grandparents immigrate here from Canada. My grandmother and grandfather were born in Dresden, were born in Ontario. And but that family, those roots are deep, simply because going back 4 generations before that, I believe, our family came up from plantations in Virginia via the Underground Railroad.
Wow.
And came up through Detroit and crossed the Detroit River and settled in Dresden.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I definitely have some questions about that, as like, I don't know if people kind of are very familiar with this. Like so many, you know, the legacy of Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad, but just that sister alone, I think it's hard to even like quantify, I think, who she was, what she was, how she did what she did.
Mm-hmm.
It's just hard, because that is such an altruistic trait and knowledge base, wisdom, skill set of what was done through her.
Right.
With that, along this journey, you know, there are spaces and places that, like, we know, like certain churches and locations, you know, where Quakers and different people would, provide shelter and safety for those going on this passage. But it's also some strong communities. Like I know Chatham is one of them, often uplifted.
Yes,
but it's
so I got family in Chatham as well. Chatham, Dresden, London, Hamilton, Windsor, Amherstburg as well. So all up through the family. You go to the cemeteries, family all up through there.
Yeah, in the Black community of Canada, and it's people that definitely tell those stories, but so much of what the Black community did there, and it was as usual in our Black journey, it was some justice needed to be stood tall for there as well,
No doubt.
but certainly not the atrocities and horrors of what was happening here.
Exactly. Yep.
And then you also mentioned another one of the, most of these Midwestern cities have these offshoot cities. And the offshoot city, I jokingly say, that's usually where a person may need to duck and hide out from possibly the law or those that don't honor the law and end up in another city. But East St. Louis, if a person's ever been there, it's along that line of a Gary, Indiana, a Flint, a Akron. You know what I'm saying? So definitely some blue collar stuff, but still,
that's where my father was born and raised. So yeah.
So also some ties to the streets that go beyond where certain people may not necessarily think, because you're thinking to yourself, you ain't in the big city, but it's definitely some lessons to be learned in East St. Louis. So I kind of want to start there. You ever been that way?
I have, but just going through East St. Louis.
I got you.
But my family ended up, my father's mother and father ended up settling in Detroit on Glendale and Dexter.
Wow, that's right over here.
Exactly. So doing that event the other day at the Juneteenth event.
Yeah,
I felt right at home because just having family over there. And then my grandparents on my mother's side, they came and settled in Coney Gardens. Yeah, so we got roots over there on England.
East and West.
Yep, England and 7 Mile area.
Okay, we definitely have uplifted so much about that Coney Gardens. Had an interview in here a couple days ago talking about Persian, Marcia Carter, which you know Marcia. Yeah, because Marcia went to Persian, and I was like, man.
Yeah, my mother went to Persian. Aunts went to Persian.
That would make sense. Yep. The doughboy classes that you probably been hearing stories of Spencer Haywood for.
Oh yeah. Well, you talk about a powerful, tight knit community, and just a power base, Detroit power base coming out of Coney Gardens, man. So.
To this day, of the families are still there, and shout out to Sydney James, the world-renowned artist.
Absolutely,
how much she stands tall for that community. Coney Gardens is for sure one of those neighborhoods where definitely a lot of the families still track decades and generations deep.
So my grandfather, when he came here, he started working for the Great Lakes Mutual Insurance Company. Which back in the 50s was the highest grossing Black business in the state of Michigan.
Wow.
Yeah, so their offices was on Woodward Avenue and near Euclid, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, but the building's still their big white building, but it was a major Black insurance company.
Okay, so Woodward and Euclid, that's right near the co-op.
Co-op, yeah, right across the street from co-op.
Right across the street, and that is the building that stand. It's okay, I never knew the roots of that until you just uplifted that. And was he an insurance salesman?
He's an insurance salesman, and at one point worked his way up into a general inspector or whatever type of, but he got high up at one point.
Okay.
And then also was a person, at that time, the culture of the Black church was really, really deep. So he started the choir that went around and kind of did the PR kind of, for the company. And it just so happens that Irma Henderson was one of the people in his choir.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just deep roots, man. And
that's
ended up our family church was People's Community Church, which is right there on Woodward Ave, right across from the co-op as well. So that whole strip there, man, was just an anchor of Black political power, economic power, spiritual power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you talk about like those ties, and this kind of reminds me of the interview not too long ago. You guys can check the archives with Pastor Bell talking about the brother that started the Martin Evers church on the Martin Luther King and Medgar Evers legacy on his East Side community, more so like we think of like that Mac Bewick area, but that church he started, and he was also in the insurance sales along with being a teacher as well. So like some of these relationships and really just the what would I say? The church serving a role in community from like a social dynamic, but also an institutional dynamic, especially during the migration, because it would be one of those things where, you know, you make your way up from where you make your way up from, and it's like, hey, you can go to this church, and through church you could navigate as though Jim Crow laws were not present in Detroit and many of these other cities. It was certainly a lot of the not on books Jim Crow laws that were very prevalent. So you needed to go to a place to navigate it. And churches really became institutions for something like that.
Oh, absolutely. And I was going through some things in my grandfather's house a few years back, right before they sold the house, and was finding, because I didn't know how active he was. But, you know, I found NAACP material, I found Urban League material. I found a program where he was one of the people who invited Dr. Carter G. Woodson to Detroit.
Wow.
Back in 1938.
Okay.
To the Bethel AME Church. So, you know, just to see Black history through the lens of somebody who's so close to you was very powerful and inspirational to me as well. And I remember growing up, going to my grandfather's house on England, grandmother and grandfather's house, and looking at his bookcase when I was a shorty. I must have been, because he died when I was about 9. So I had to be about 6, 7, 8. And looking at his bookshelf, I remember seeing Invisible Man, from Superman to Superman, J. Rogers. I remember seeing the titles of these books, man, and you know, they stuck with me, and just recognizing the power of having a library and books, and but you know, it just left an imprint on me. So just growing up, you know, just want to have my own library and, you know, start reading, because you know, you see people read, you want to do the same thing, man. So he just in that sense, he had a huge impact on me.
Definitely. And even like what you uplifted with Carter G. Woodson, it would be some of the groups, like it'd be like a group of deacons or a group of women from a church, like an auxiliary club or something, welcoming some of the different, for a lack of a better term, I guess I want to say Black organizers that also had different information of histories and things like that. And that's how a lot of the travels would happen. So we think of like a Carter G. Woodson that, I don't know if people know this, but I'm going to just give this to you. Carter G. Woodson at the time, you know, Negro History Week, that becomes Black History Month, and what that grows, that has the support of, like, you know, you going from like a church to church. And, you know, I'm sure, you know, your grandfather probably knew some people in a Flint or a Saginaw, and it's like, all right, after you leave here, you're gonna head this way, and then you're gonna get to Chicago when you go here, and like we say, you know, you got to know how to navigate where to go, being Black at that time, you know. So so
I grew up northwest Detroit, grew up on Snowden, in Chippewa. Family's still over in the neighborhood.
Okay.
I went to Verner Elementary, Bobien Middle School, and then Mumford High School.
Okay, so definitely, and we know the legacies of, we've uplifted that, some Mustangs and a lot of the organizing of what that is. I'm assuming, you know, a couple years back, I know, shout out to Attorney Jeff Edison. He made it to the Mumford alumni. I could easily see you making it in that same class eventually, but also Howie Bill was like, man, Mumford was crazy, and you know, Howie's story.
Right.
What was Mumford like for you?
Man, Mumford for me, it was that teenager, 86, 87, 88.
Okay.
You know, it was Eddie Murphy with the T.
I was gonna say you're there after Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, right. I mean, the year after I went to Mumford, and that, I mean, that T-shirt made Mumford a whole bunch of money, bro.
They say I was watching this documentary just on like the fun facts of Beverly Hills Cop. They say that it was such a rush for those shirts after Beverly Hills Cop that like they had to like organize a whole like damn near business around getting those shirts sent first across the nation, but even
around
the world.
Yeah. Mumford made, I don't know what happened to the money, but Mumford made a whole bunch of money.
There we go.
Those few years. And
because producer Jerry Bruckheimer, I think a lot of people kind of should know this, in most of these communities, a lot of the communities where Black people were, especially like when we think Northwest Detroit, these were predominantly Jewish communities, because the same way that, redlining excluded Black folks from communities, it was the same covenants and laws about Jewish people in communities. And I'm not necessarily saying that we had the most sanctimonious relationships, but at the time, the probability of being a Black person buying a home, getting it from like what we call like, I guess, traditional Anglo, like an English, German, or French person, it was like unheard of for the longest time. So it would be a Jewish community usually more open to selling to a Black family.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, man, Mumford was a great experience for me. I was in the on the business track.
Okay.
So my classes were, things like accounting, entrepreneurship, marketing. I was one of those DECA students.
I was DECA too.
Yeah, had a great teacher who was a Fisk graduate, Harrison Duke. Shout out to him, and rest in peace to that brother. Who man, was, you talk about dynamic teachers, young teachers, man. I think he might have been his first year teacher when we had him, but he just came in just powerful, inspirational, strong Black. He was a Kappa, proud Kappa fist man. Shout out to Kappas, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like he was a great man. And then Shushana Shakur.
Yeah,
she's my English teacher,
Miss Taliaferro. Many people always talk about it. That is Chokwe Lumumba's sister, as many people know her.
Yes,
but not only did she teach at Mumford, she went to Mumford, so it would be different legacies and stories. And she was very present, even at an extremely young age, of the movement to get Black studies into Detroit public schools, amongst other places. But you had Mama Shushana even back in the day.
Yeah, man, and being in her class, I mean, I'm learning things I had never learned before. I mean, you figure in 1986, 87, nobody was talking about Kwanzaa like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's in her class that I'm exposed to the Nguzo Sabo. You know what I'm saying? We're learning that in her class. And everything else. I learned about, this revolutionary Black lawyer by the name of Chokwe Lumumba, of course, who's a brother.
Yeah.
And, back then it didn't click until, years later, and you're learning about this man, you're seeing him with Tupac, and you go, that was, that's Shoshana's brother. Like, that's who she was talking about. And I think she even brought him to class once. But, you just don't, you're a teenager. You ain't making, you ain't making sense of it.
Okay.
But it was, it was a powerful, experience, and, it set me up. I was a part of the Detroit Police Explorers.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was business track on one end, but law enforcement on the other end. My mentors were police officers, man.
Interesting.
Donald Kirkwood, Kathy Warren were my mentors, starting from probably 8th grade all the way up through 12th grade, and then when I graduated from Mumford, I went to Ferris because of criminal justice. I was going to be a cop. I was going to be a cop.
Wow.
So that was my thing.
That is definitely a different track.
Yeah. So you have those things going on, but it's also in terms of music, hip hop culture. I mean, Mumford's rich.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So my classmates are Dice, Gabe Gonzalez.
Yeah.
In middle school, Silvery Benson. You know what I'm saying? Let's see, who else was at Mumford? Frogger D. Bobby and Mumford.
Okay.
J to the D. I don't think he wasn't at Mumford at the time, but definitely Bobian.
Mm.
But he lived around the block from me on Hartwood.
Yep.
So-
I definitely know also, I guess now it's Cool Beans, but Renaissance Man was in that community as well. Yeah, it definitely was active in that community. I think it was just known. I don't know where it stands now because I mean I'm so disconnected to high school. But this is the other thing because I went to Hallie Magnet Middle School.
Okay,
so
you're
like
Hallie,
you know, some of the students from Bobian and Hampton and all of that stuff would make their way there. It was known like definitely people be like, man, all the fly girls go to Cass, right? But the neighborhood school as some fly women was that it was just known, go to Mumford. Now you also had to like, you know, if you plan on, you know, going to the basketball game and I guess making an introduction to some of these young ladies, you had to be ready to also navigate the brothers that are in you know, in school or out of school or God knows what's going on. But they definitely in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that was always a real dynamic.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, but yeah, Mumford's also that. The other thing that stands out about the old design of Mumford is the driver's training track was like right in front of the school.
That's where I learned how to drive. And a whole bunch of us,
So I know any kid watching this today is thinking like, huh, what? Like at one point in time, driver's training was a class you could have taken in high school.
Yeah.
Now it was one of the most coveted classes, but you could have taken it in high school. So that's where you actually took it there at Mumford.
No doubt. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I figure it was kind of hard getting on that track. You must have had good grades and everything.
It was fun. Man, they was letting everybody take drivers. You know, you just had to beat the age
academic.
It wasn't even academics. It was, it was just age, man.
So it'd be like the person that may miss every day, but they in driver's training.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. And then when you also talk about the police, we've talked about the police cadets before being one of the programs. Like right now, I think it's Grow Detroit Young Talent that does exist, but for the longest it would be as much as I remember, opportunities connected to like city work and employment, whether it be like the Belazu or whatever, but the police cadets hire more than most. Were you like in that program in the summertime?
So the police cadets were separate from
what you were doing.
From Police Explorer. So we never got paid.
Oh, okay.
But you know, the police cadets as a employment opportunity for young folks. Yeah, without a doubt, they employed a whole bunch of folks. But I was my high school jobs were in the summer. My first job was at the Detroit Zoo.
Wow.
In the vending spaces. So at the food concession stand.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was my first job. And then my second job outside of summer was at Phillips Shoe Store in Northland.
What was that like?
Well, let me tell you. Saturday afternoons were off the chain simply because the main shoe salesman was Fast Freddy.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
For real?
Fast Freddy.
I bump into Fast Freddy sometimes. I don't know why in the hell I ain't had him on Detroit.
Man, Saturday afternoons at Northland, because he's hood superstar. You know what I'm saying? And man, and he, you know, I was in the basement. You know, the salesman would call down for shoes, and then we would send shoes upstairs. But my brother David got me that job. And, you know, I had it for a couple years, man. And but it was, man, Northland. On Saturday afternoons were off the chain, man.
And so Fast Freddy, as people should know, right now you may know him from teaching different ballroom stepping and everything's been part of the scene completely. Like when we think like Detroit dance music culture and what does exist, he's one, him, Nat Morris, but yeah, Fast Freddy, even to this day, is so unique. My, rest in peace to my aunt, but at one of the facilities she was staying, and he does this, like he'll even go to some of the elder care facilities, do some steps and everything, and like, keep that going. I'm like, damn, boy,
he's the cleanest brother I ever met, man. Just smooth, clean,
socks, hat, shoes,
gentleman, just smooth, bro. I mean, just the epitome of Detroit. You know what I'm saying? Like he was that guy, man. He is that guy.
Yes.
No
The line in Hypnotized with where Biggie's like stink pink gators, my Detroit players. The thought process is to me, Fast Freddy, but to many it may be like you said, Dice, but like Mozzie Ski and all of that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
like they get that feel from the guys like Fast Freddy and all that cabaret culture,
Yeah.
and you know what I'm saying. All of that. You working there, you probably went through. I don't even know how many gators you probably have passed along.
Yeah.
Over the years, you know what I'm saying? We actually had a contest for brothers to get in shape through like amount of steps they take,
Mhm.
and the winner won some gators. It was cool Detroit culture content all coming together. So so from there, like you were thinking Ferris, law enforcement.
Yeah.
You get to Ferris and people can look this up, but it's a professor up there that's collecting so many artifacts
Mhm.
of in a lot of ways I'm gonna say like the really more so like I would say 19th and some of the 20th century like artifacts that are in display of Black people.
Mhm.
And that so much of that, I'm sure that guy was like, you know, when we think of like the movie Bamboozled from Spike Lee and
Exactly.
other moments like that, like it's a heck of a collection. And not only did he do it, he also like, you know, just like through this website, I saw like could characterize these many different characters of the roles that Black people play,
Mhm.
whether it be like through more so like plantation life and things like that. I mean, people may have seen like the you know, the skit in like a what's that? The Hollywood Shuffle. And I guess you know, if you're old enough, and nowadays I think Drewski did like a more modern version of like the British actor, you know, playing the enslaved individual and things like that. But that's there on that campus, and you meet that professor there.
Yeah. So that's Dr. David Pilgrim, sociologist. In 1990, fall of 1990, I believe that was his first year teaching at Ferris, and I happened to be in his first sociology class, intro to sociology class. And every week he would bring in a different artifact and have our classes start with discussions around this object. And you know, the discussions were just, you know, they just got deep, they got heated, you know, offensive, affirming as well. I mean, because you know, it's one thing to we know what racism looks like, what it feels like, but we might not have the historical context to understand like how we got here. But if you bring in a object from, you know, 1910, you know, that had, you know, it's a cast iron bank with you know, looks like, you know, the objects from Bamboozle.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just like, what mindset created this, and why was it created?
Yeah.
And we're having those discussions. And where do you see the legacy of those objects, you know, currently
today?
Yeah. And so we know we had some great conversations, and I was inspired by being in that class. And then shortly after that class, I started collecting Jim Crow related material, you know, first off, and then just kind of grew it from there. But I started digging through antique shops and used bookstores. But going back to my childhood, though, I was a collector of comic books and sports cards. So that's actually where I started off collecting seriously. Like in high school, middle school, I was in class trading baseball cards and football cards in class, me and friends. So that's where that collector, you know, started. Yeah, it started in school. And going to Tiger Stadium on Trumbull Avenue, Michigan, going there as a teenager or preteen, getting autographs from players and that type of stuff. Going to the Lions practice games, you know, meeting everybody from Billy Sims to, you know, Gary Danielson. You know what I'm saying? Like I got pictures of me and Gary Danielson when I was like 13 years old. Yeah. They met Sparky Anderson and George Kell and Al Kaline. Like they would see me so much that they would know who I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanna I'm putting a pin in the sports thing. We definitely gonna go back to that. I love sports and more questions I got that. But I also want to frame a little bit more for people to know that, okay, first off, Ferris State as we would say, is, and it's so interesting, PWI, it's like, really, it's like, almost like most of the institutions, but a predominantly white institution.
Yeah.
And not only that, like where it's located, it's not like, if you're going to a Wayne State that's PWI, but you're in the city of Detroit and it's like this black community, like Ferris State is in more of like, it's going to be a minute till you get to like some cities where, it's going to be a lot of our folks just period. You know what I'm saying? One of them places where, you better hope that somebody in your class knows how to cut hair, because if not,
exactly, yeah,
you up the creek, and this is 1992 when this is being presented. If he said so, like this is
I go up in 1988.
Okay, you go in 88, but I'm saying that class and when you guys are talking about
1990. But you figure I'm going up to Ferris in 88.
Yeah,
in this very rich culturally dense period of black culture in America, for especially for young people. So you got hip hop, you have this black consciousness movement in hip hop. You got Public Enemy, KRS-One, so on and so forth. But you also have on TV, you've got the Cosby Show. You got it's a different world. So our experience on campus, man, we were watching. We're getting together as black students and watching together. The Cosby Show, and it's a different world and that type of stuff. I remember when the Malcolm X movie came out, folks getting together, going to see that, and that being a big thing when Do the Right Thing came out.
I was going to say Do the Right Thing, definitely.
So, it was just, it was rich, and because the campus was so white, the black students connected real, in real deep family type of ways, and those relationships, man, they last, even till today, man. We're still
connected.
We're still very much connected, man. So I got deep relationships with people from Ferris.
Okay, and that's where I just want to always put a person in that space. It's like you be talking so much. It's like I just want to contextualize it so people kind of understand, when you're in some of those artifacts. Because here's a classic one, Song of the South, which is the film that basically builds the empire of Walt Disney. You can't even, it's hard to find even clips of that anymore because of so much of the portrayal of, and it's a mix because some of it's animated and some of these are real actors, but enslaved black people that are singing, dancing, enjoying the experience of the plantation. That's just something just taken, out the archives and you don't want to see. But that, and that's not that long ago when we think about things like that.
And so, you got the film itself, but from the film, you have these marketing products that come out. So you have books, you have T-shirts, you have figurines that come out, and then of course at Disneyland or Disney World, you have the ride, the Song of the South ride, which they just got rid of recently. But it's all it's all of that, and it's deeply ingrained in the
in the
culture,
psyche.
in the psyche of the American people. And you find people fighting to maintain those ideas. So which is real interesting because people are emotionally connected to them. So much so in my lectures, I talk about the Little Rascals a lot. And I show this clip. And it's a deep clip, man, because I have original photographs of lynchings. And people always wonder, how were people able to participate and pose for these pictures and be around watching these people watching black folks get lynched? And a part of it is people being socialized into believing that that's okay simply because they don't see these men and women and children as human beings. But how do you socialize people into that type of mentality? Well, it's through books, it's through the media. At the time, film houses are popular. And so I have this clip that I show of the Little Rascals and Buckwheat being lynched, literally, on film. And, growing up, most people saw it growing up and didn't think twice about it. But Spanky puts a rope around his neck, pulls him into a hole.
Mhm.
You know, and it's just, you know, it's a lynching that you're watching, and this is at the height of lynching in America, and it just went over people's heads, but it did go into people's psyches because,
Yeah.
these were the things that were happening at the time.
I mean, so much of what you're talking about, even in reference to that, and, rest in peace to my mother, and I'm sure it's like elders in the family too, because, I mean, they may have critiques about, Lord knows, the hip-hop I'll listen to and all that, but, like, my mom, remembered a lot of Amos and Andy.
Yeah.
And people don't know, this is like a tandem in somewhat of the Drewski skit that is parodying the Hollywood Shuffle. Like, these are like Broadway style actors, and they're not, it's not like the character that they play, like, oh, and I don't know what, because, like, basically the whole concept of, even like when we get into like you shookin' and jiving, these ideas that still exist about like the laziness of us not really being able to work, us not, being able to connect. Like, these are like rooted in a lot of like these early films. Even the one, and I've talked about this before, but hey, we here, so I got to go into it. The thought process of this overhyped idea that black men are like inherently aggressive towards women, especially in sexuality, is really crystallized in the whole concept of Birth of a Nation. And Birth of a Nation champions the Ku Klux Klan as saving a lot of these white women from black men, and really it was white men in the movie with black face, attempting to sexually assault these white women. So this becomes pervasive to the point where, like, at the White House, it's like 6 screenings of this film. Right. So, like, when people say stuff like, man, I can't believe, President Trump is doing something like this, desecrating the White House. I'm like, the history of the White House, I don't necessarily know the grounds in which, not just mention, so many enslaved people to build it, let alone everything that's always happened there, has been in a history that is so much founded on propagating these lies about who we are as a people.
Yeah, and the growth of the Klan after it was shown in the White House reached, I think, 5 million. It might have been higher than that.
They say that after that, 10% of all white men in America are in the Ku Klux Klan. So that means that if you're in a room with 10 people.
Yeah, and that's not surprising. And I also know for a fact in Indiana, the state of Indiana, 1 out of 3 in Indiana back in the 20s and 30s, including, I want to say, the governor.
Yes,
was a Klansman. And then, I got my Ph.D. from the University of Illinois. Their very first yearbook, the Klan was a recognized student
association.
Yeah, on campus. Yeah.
So, like, when we think of this, and I mean, you guys can even look at like what the ties of what happens today. And I think I've told this story before on here, but in my lifetime, I've been a truck driver. When I was truck driving, when I had my national route, I was driving for Warner. We had a Anheuser-Busch run. So the Anheuser-Busch run that we had was basically like inside the Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia, and we would drive down and through basically like the bottom of Kentucky. And during one of the stops, as far as like as we're waiting to unload, I'm talking to, because at least my journey in truck driving, I like talking. You go crazy. Burly white dude, maybe 5-6 years older than me, like 2 Confederate flags on both his sides, and just having a discussion about what it means and how he looks at it, because a lot of the argument in what he was saying, and I don't agree, but it's just like, all right, let's entertain this conversation. I'm truck driving. I interacted with a lot of different people. You know what I'm saying? And the thought process of, the country was in better shape when we were doing what we needed to do. The North messed everything up. things weren't as bad. Basically, like a lot of the Song of the South narrative. Everybody was cool in a lot of ways. You know, the stories I hear from my grandparents, the people on the plantation was taken care of more sometimes than my family because they the reason we making money. Like, these are the thought processes. And this is even big in the movement of a lot of what becomes the Confederate monuments, because it's like the daughters of the Confederacy have to put up these monuments because the thought process is these white men post-Civil War are so berated and looked at as being wrong and defeated that they can't function as men to help our society move forward. So let's erect all these statues. Hence, this is like a push from the daughters of the Confederacy.
Right.
So then you juxtapose that and you think about the image of what we've dealt with as black men in this nation for the longest of time. And the arc of a lot of the stories, to me, as far as I'm concerned, that are platformed. And I admire the hell out of a lot of these brothers, like the Jesse Owens, the Jackie Robinsons, and the Martin Luther Kings. But I am very cognizant of the fact that the lens in which I think traditional media platforms their story, and the Joe Lewis's, is to basically say, put yourself in a docile position and be understanding of whatever bigotry has to happen to you. Walk with your head up, and eventually you're going to find a white ally to teach the guy that's spitting on you to stop spitting on you. And that's something that I don't like, that narrative in that story.
Right. But, white society has to make something that's palatable to them, right? But at the end of the day, we've been winning for a long time, and we have to celebrate our wins always. I was talking to Brother Blair yesterday, the Black Panther, and we're having a deep conversation. But he was like, "Man, we got to change this narrative. We got to talk about us winning, and we have won." You know what I'm saying? When you look at where we started out in this country and where we're at right now, you won't find another people on the planet that have gone through what we've gone through, achieved what we've achieved, and have been so magnetizing. I mean, everybody wants to be, who we are,
and a piece of
it. But they don't want the oppression that comes with it. But we've inspired the world. You know what I'm saying? Our struggle has inspired the world. Our swag has inspired the world. So and people see us, and from conversation I've had with people who are in different spaces around the world, they think that ultimate change is going to come from the black man and the black woman in America, and I've been told that several times from different people from different backgrounds.
That's different. That's deep.
It's very deep.
And it also, that's why I love this platform, because I can add layers and context, and that's why I love what you have too. And hence, I've always said, it's like, leave that monument up, but let me put my tablet on the other side of that monument. Yeah. Let me add the context to it, because that's the other piece of it. And your work definitely uplifts and puts a lot of this into understanding, because to lock it up and throw it away, I don't necessarily think that that's that's not a reality that we can even sort of walk into. We need to look at what happened, how it happened, and then have the full understanding of why, how, and what, and then moving forward and organizing in and around it.
But I think, honestly, that's what the ultimate fear is, though. Because when you look at our success, when you look at our accomplishments, in spite of the stuff that we went through, when you put that out and put it in front of people and give it that context, it's something to be celebrated.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? People are, this is 250 years of America right now. They've been trying to hide this history. But again, when you put this history out front, man, it ain't no telling. You know who the real Americans are. You know who the patriots are when you look at this history. You know what I'm saying? You can't tell me Jesse Owens wasn't a patriot. You can't tell me the Black Union soldiers weren't patriots. Can't tell me Crispus Attucks wasn't a patriot.
I mean,
so
even
we're the ultimate definition by default, simply because when we're fighting for these core democratic values, when we're not seen as citizens
Mm-hmm.
and we're willing to sacrifice on a level,
Yeah.
believing in these ideas more so than the next guy,
Yeah.
because he's trying to enslave you. But this
Mhm.
document says that all men were created equal.
Mm-hmm.
So we believe in this document more than these other folks believe in it.
I mean, I can only imagine the cognitive dissonance, especially like when we think of like a Jesse Owens in Munich and a Joe Louis beating Max Schmeling. So like if you guys really get into like a lot of the theory of Nazism, it's to create the ultimate human being in intelligence, athleticism. You know, this is pure blood. The whole concept of this Aryan being amazing. And then you got a brother like Joe Louis from a segregated Alabama making his way up here. He ain't giving no special considerations, and a lot of the stuff Joe Louis had to deal with because it's, you know, post Jack Johnson, even more on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets over there and beats the hell out of what they say is the greatest athlete in the world.
Yeah.
Jesse Owens, same thing, to the point where, quote unquote, you know, Hitler and them got to walk out of Jesse Owens winning this, because not only that, it's like, wow, they got less. They're not treated the right way in their own nation. They not even given the same resources as what's best. And we're offering the world, these are the best people, and get us in there and we.
But that story is over and over and over in our history.
Many times.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, in every field too. I
Yeah.
mean, it's in science, it's in sports, it's in music. I mean, you know, those, and so that's why it's so important to celebrate and acknowledge and understand those histories, man. Because once we start sharing, again, it inspires our young people, but inspires everybody though, man. I mean, when people sit down and really see it, it inspires everybody. And everybody needs to see it, man.
I mean, it's so interesting, like in the field, because, you know, I could deep dive in research and just getting into more of my Henry Ford research now. And it's so interesting that so few even tied the relationship between George Washington Carver and Henry Ford together.
It's a deep,
they don't even admit, it's like, it's called a plant for a reason.
Yeah.
And the whole relationship's moving like the circulatory system in our bodies that relate to the botany of it. I mean, the genius of a George Washington Carver is so massive that, I mean, you can almost like, you know what I'm saying? You could probably do like 15, 10 episode documentaries on his work alone.
Yeah.
You know?
And during his lifetime, people understood how powerful of a scientist he was. But we just lost that history, you know? I mean, anytime you put a black man on a coin during his lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I think he was still alive when that coin came out, and then on the U.S. postal stamp way back in the 40s. Man, that's powerful, bro.
You got that right.
Yeah,
so now I'm picking up that pen in the sports world. Trading cards. I was a trading cards guy. I think everybody was like, man, we're going to do well with it. And then you had to like keep it in mint condition and stuff. And not as much comic books, more so trading cards. But let's start. When do you start collecting? What was the spark of collecting them?
It was a bonding with the brothers on my block.
Okay.
So it's brother Carl, Kevin, and myself. We were the sports collectors. So we did, you know, football cards, mainly football cards, baseball cards, and then we did some basketball cards. Okay. But you know, we're you know, trading cards back and forth, man. And at one time I had a pretty impressive collection of material, man. And my partner Carl, he still collects.
Wow.
So we ended up going separate ways in terms of our life's work, but his sports collecting, pop culture collecting, he's doing that. You know, we're in our mid-50s now. Okay, that's what he's doing full time.
Wow,
these are things that we started as children.
Wow,
and he's doing it full time now. He left his full-time job a few years ago, and it was like, man, I'm about to do what I know. Go for it, bro. And he's doing very well. And you know, I'm doing the museum. So
and even like when I look at some of your hip hop pieces, it's like, damn, I had that, but I don't got it no more, because you just never know what's going to happen and how. And you've inspired, like, I don't know if people, and I think I've given you a piece to here or there. I'm going to give you something today, but I collect old magazines, especially like old Black magazines. For me, I like to actually read it because it's so interesting just to look at, first off, the way that journalism before was reported versus today. And then also the lens in which how it was written, especially when you look at like Johnson publications. So Johnson meaning like Ebony Jet, you know, any of those early Essence, you know what I'm saying? It's like I found like at least 4 Dr. Francis Cress Welsing articles in Essence in the 70s. And it's like, damn. It's stuff where it's like, I don't necessarily know if this would be published today.
So my favorite Johnson publication was Black World and Black and Negro Digest, which were publications that were kind of like special projects, and were put together so you have all of these powerful Black intellectual scholars, poets, novelists that didn't have a platform. So Johnson got all these scholars together and made this publication that had no advertisement whatsoever and put it out so that they could have their voice and talk about whatever they wanted to talk about. And you have, man, Sam Greenlee, Marvin X, John Henry Clark. I mean, all your who's who of that era of time writing for Black, Black World and Negro Digest. Well, it's Negro Digest first and then becomes Black World. Mary Baraka.
Wow.
And the stories are, or the stories, the articles are just powerful. And it's international. You know what I'm saying? Like you got poets from all around the world writing about the Black experience, on a worldwide level. So I've always been inspired by those publications, but they stopped publishing those in the early 70s.
Because I was gonna say I've looked at a couple. I haven't been able to catch it in like it's a couple different like sites I go where it's like if this gets in, let me know and notify. I think I've gotten most of the stuff I could get, but Negro Digest is high as I'm actually looking deeper into I'm on a Mayor Maynard Jackson kick, and it's just
have you
harder
seen
to
the
get a lot
documentary?
of it. Yes,
That was powerful. So my brother out of Atlanta, Jason Orr, did that film.
Oh, that's your people's. Okay.
Yeah. So and we'll get into the my business to entrepreneurship. But Jason Orr used to do the Funk Jazz Cafe in Atlanta, which was a huge Black festival. Art, hip hop, jazz, funk, everything, and he would throw parties and wouldn't let people know who the main
headliner was going to be
until people show up, and thousands of people would show up at his events, and then you would have Public Enemy, Erykah Badu, Goody Mob. I mean, all these phenomenal people, and I think it was 1999 he decided to bring it to Detroit, and it was actually Carl Craig who suggested to Jason that I come on as a promoter. So that's how he and I connected. And we brought it to St. Andrews, and Goody Mob was there. Karen Wheeler. Forgot who the other artists were, but man, it was a hell of a night, man. So but he's the one who did Maynard. Which is a phenomenal documentary.
Yes, it is. So like as you're collecting and like I guess trading with the guys on the block, and you even mentioned baseball and going to the baseball stadium, so that if people know, like baseballs is the first trading cards, and then it gets into other cards and things like that. And you're actually going to the game. I definitely think that the corner experience was different, but that also aligns you in '84 when they win the championship. You're following.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What was the energy like then?
We go when the Tigers win. So Carl's father, Mr. Stubbs, used to take us down to, and he would drop us off at Tiger Stadium. And then come pick us up. Drop us off, and I mean we would go quite a bit. You know what I'm saying? So much so that Sparky Anderson definitely knew who I was.
Wow.
And it's funny because one time I was down there by myself. I was waiting for my godmother to pick me up, and Sparky Anderson and his wife, who was driving the K car, which is hilarious. They were like, "You need a ride home?" I was like, "No, I'm good. I gotta wait for my godmother." But Sparky Anderson, he was like, "No, let me give you a ride home." I'm like, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah,
it's like you're gonna get me killed, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was a real cool guy. Al Kaline was real cool. Ernie Harwell was real cool.
Yep.
But I met Lou Whitaker. I met Carl Yastrzemski. I met so many people down there, man. Chet Lemon. Yeah, man, it was an incredible experience.
Probably Trammell, Kirk Gibson.
Yeah, Alan. Yeah, never met Alan Trammell, Kirk Gibson, but I met what's my man's name? It'll come to me in a minute. But the brother who at one point was in prison came out and played for the.
Damn! Oh man, that's gonna mess me up.
And he's actually Gabe Gonzalez's cousin.
Wow!
And so he's gonna kill me if he sees us. What is my man's name? It'll come to me in a minute. But anyway, yeah, man. Round the floor.
Okay,
round the floor.
Okay,
yeah.
I was gonna say, and then also for people know, and just even the movement, like right now is something different. But Old Tiger Stadium was one of those classic historic stadiums. I went a couple of times, like even like in the bleachers, you would have like the cages where you walk out and then go up. It felt.
It's that classic American
baseball.
Baseball. Just. They don't make stadiums like that no more, man.
Okay, because I was just gonna say, just even in that experience and knowing, and I'm guessing you're probably there when Mandela comes as well.
I didn't go to. I was at Ferris at the time.
Okay, you were
but I remember vividly when he was there and watching it on TV.
Yeah,
but I have a whole lot of memorabilia from
that day.
I do.
Yeah. Okay, so that's like that collection. You kind of already understand it, and then you start growing the Jim Crow collection.
Yeah.
What was your thought process with building this collection, and when did it hit you that it's like, okay, I'm gonna make a traveling museum?
Yeah. So early 90s, again, after taking Dr. Pilgrim's class, I'm collecting Jim Crow material.
Yeah.
But also I'm into hip hop, poetry, learning about Black history through hip hop. You know what I'm saying? I'm learning these names. I'm learning about Joanne Chesimard. I'm learning about Mandela. I'm learning about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm learning about Minister Farrakhan. I'm learning about Malcolm.
What Chuck D? Farrakhan's a prophet that I think you ought to listen to. And then,
we're making. So I'm making these connections, and then I want to start finding original artifacts that represent these people I'm learning about. Yeah. So I probably start collecting some magazines because with the baseball card piece, I was collecting autographs. So I'm interested in like autographs, knowing the value, not only knowing the monetary value of it, but knowing the historical value of these things. So I start collecting Black Panther material. I get a hold of some papers. I get some and then I'm into music too. So I'm collecting Michael Jackson material. I'm collecting Muhammad Ali material, man. I'm collecting a lot of Ali stuff. So people who really inspired me, and not thinking that I was going to have a museum, but just at that time, just collecting things that just like affirming to me, right?
When you're building that collection and you know what I'm saying, before you even see all of that, what are you going, like, where are you putting it? How are you protecting it? Because like similar to like comic books and stuff, like, as they say, like mint condition, but obviously like dust, air, water.
I'm not
stuff in banking.
I'm not thinking about none of that at the time.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? In any serious type of way.
I got you.
Probably outside of putting some things in some plastic.
But
I'm not thinking about that. It's stuff in my apartment on campus, man. So right off of campus. But yeah, it's early on. It's probably at the height. It might be about 200 or 300 pieces.
Okay,
and then then I decided to become a teacher. But prior to that, and just to give context of how I get into the music business and the booking and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So while I'm on campus, I'm a part of the student programming board, which was called Entertainment Unlimited. So we were responsible for bringing all the entertainment to campus, the comedians, the hip hop artists, the speakers, all of that.
Whoever.
So I'm meeting in the early 90s people like Joe Rogan, who was a stand-up comedian at the time.
Yeah.
And actually befriend him and we stay in contact for a while. Haven't talked to him in 35 years, but
at that time,
at the time, we're in contact. So people like Joe Rogan, we bring Cosby to campus around that time.
Wow.
We attempt to bring 2 Live Crew at that time.
I could easily see some of the challenges there.
There's some huge challenges.
Yeah.
But it ended up, the funny thing is that we ended up booking them, had the date, venue booked, all that stuff, paid them $10,000. And but the community organized in a way that I'd never seen anybody organize before, and they cut that quick.
Yeah.
Quick. And they never, we lost that money. We never got that back from Luke. But I saw Luke last year and told him that, we both laughed about it. We laughed about it, but
so a couple different things in hip hop history, which I'm sure you got pieces on this too, which really kind of, I guess, goes into like even American, it goes into American law. Like, so like what 2 Live Crew does, especially like, the Nastiest They Want to Be album and, everything they're doing, it heightens these discussions about censorship.
Exactly.
Which becomes a national discussion, which then creates the, at the time, the parental advisory sticker and what moves forward of how this can be and what's freedom of speech, what's not freedom of speech. It was extremely political at the time, as, this is a talking point on like presidential campaigns.
Oh, no doubt. And so on campus, that's how we angled it as a freedom of speech. I mean, so we organized, we rallied. And I mean, there was a back and forth, MTV comes to our campus because of it.
Wow.
So it was a huge thing.
Yeah.
But again, we lost that battle, and I honestly, kind of glad that we did.
There we go. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That, as you mature, that's something you don't want to be known for.
Yes, exactly.
For pushing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but it was, it was a part of my experience, a part of my growth, and it's something to look back on and go, oh, okay.
And also with that, and because I've had, I love hip hop. So it's like in reading his autobiography, this is another thing that I don't think is always as uplifted when we think about like entrepreneurship and independence. I definitely know, so many people present Master P as like a rapper into that. Luke's early on into a lot of this because of the censorship and because of, he obviously was not, as far as I'm concerned, like, I think he'd even admit, he's not the most lyrical or best rapper to like get a deal and everything. So a lot of that is independent on Luke Records that is being promoted and pushed throughout the nation of how it's being distributed. So Luke in that 80s, 90s era, before a lot of other, like, I guess, like this wave of like the Black-owned record label distribution, Black empowerment and business of it, he's there early.
Absolutely. I mean, and I mean, in terms of business, does an amazing job in regards to that. But, a huge part of that legacy is bringing this strip culture, which was
very much
subculture. I mean, that stuff was underground at the time.
Yes.
Like, if you wanted to experience it, you knew where to go experience it.
Yeah.
But that wasn't something that was on the national level that, you want your babies watching. Right?
Oh, certainly.
And so, I mean,
and
and there's a balance too. You know what I'm saying? Because at the same time, we're listening to Public Enemy, KRS-One, everybody else, when Luke came on and that production came on, I mean, everybody was dancing to that stuff. So, you might not be into the lyrics, but no denying
the bass
the
music
bass,
that
I
I
mean,
forget
we
the guy,
love that
Mr.
stuff.
Mix or whatever. Like the and what they did with the 808s and everything. Because like I mean at the time, but like so a couple different things. So first, I always say that's my favorite era in hip hop. As I'm a kid, I'm born in '82, so I say that's my favorite era because. For me as a kid, and it always looked like they could do whatever they wanted to do as rappers, but it's like I have so many different perspectives of what I could be as a black man. Like even the difference between like, okay, Public Enemy is militant, but they're a lot different than X-Clan. And they're different than Brand Nubian.
Right.
And they're definitely different than De La Soul. And even like, you know, Ice Cube's different than Eazy-E. And you know what I'm saying? Like it's so many of these different perspectives of what Kid and Play, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. I mean, I'm a kid, so even like Digital Underground and like they're like a band and it's fun. Like, oh, so these are so many different perspectives. I definitely think post Dr. Dre's The Chronic, things definitely look to like go, oh, this is the way that we want hip hop to go. And there are still some differences, but it's never to like that point again. Cause even like a guy like Heavy D, it's like, you know, you got this big guy, but he dancing and rapping and
yeah. I mean, you just don't have that diversity.
On a national,
you know,
yes.
it just, and you know, and that's very intentional.
Oh,
you know,
very
it's
much
very,
so,
very
yeah.
intentional. You know,
Yeah.
because they couldn't control it otherwise.
Yeah.
You know, and they didn't expect all that to happen and be around for as long as it was. And so once the powers that be saw the potential in terms of money, they were like, we gotta get a hold of that.
Yeah.
Especially when you have groups that are raising the conscious level of the musicians as well. When you have artists who start asking questions about masters and publishing and ownership, bro, you know, you have to control that.
I mean, but even like, I mean, It Takes a Nation. It starts out, it's London, England.
Yeah.
Are you ready for Public Enemy? I mean, even to the point where, which I mean, you probably know direct stories about this, but like as you know, these Detroit is different over time. You know, Eminem's current manager, Paul Rosenberg, is like, they're like, yo, man, he was like MC Search and like a whole thought process of like, yo, we need to be looking at, you know, the black man is the first and the black. I'm like, for real? And it's like, yeah, man, when he was in the Lumberjacks and it's like, wow, I'm just not tying this stuff together, but it's that prevalent where, I mean, I think one of the more pop culture characters in that is, and if anybody's ever seen the movie House Party 2, the dorm mate with Kid is this white guy that's like reading Malcolm X and all of that stuff. And it's not as far-fetched, definitely in that time, in that era, you know?
I agree. I mean, it's pleasant. It's very much present, you know. I mean, and you hear Search, you hear Pete Nice, you know, speaking to, you know, those things in their lyrics, and
yeah, like they weren't part of Native Tongue, but they were definitely Native Tongue affiliated.
Oh, without a doubt, you know. I mean,
you know, that first iteration of, you know, what becomes MF Doom and all of this other stuff. It's a wave. So
and because white kids want to be down with what's happening and what's being promoted in black culture, they want to wear the red, black, and green. They want to be like us. You know what I'm saying? And but again, they had, you know, the industry had to get control of that as well. You've got with Sinead O'Connor coming over here with a Public Enemy tattoo on her head on national TV. So they're like, how that, you know, they're asking how did that happen? So, and how do we get control of that? So, you know, it's deep, man.
It definitely gets very deep. And I mean, Khalid Muhammad, my understanding of who Khalid Muhammad is directly through Public Enemy.
Yeah.
You know, and then at the time, I think I've touched on this before too, like the Donahue Show, which it's kind of like, I don't know, but just at one point in time, I think Donahue's show, even in getting ratings though, would at least entertain and heighten a discussion where you would have some back and forth. I mean, I think it's what kicked him off the air, him wanting to have a deeper discussion about the relationship between 9/11 I don't even know what that conflict was, or even if it's called a war, but like I guess it was Operation Iraqi Freedom. That's what led to Donahue not being on the air. But he wanted to have a discussion about that, which was a discussion at the time that American media was not willing to explore.
But yeah, those Donahue episodes, man, those are classics. And listen to Public Enemy, listen to those samples of Minister Farrakhan and Khalid Muhammad, and then to be able to see them on national TV and seeing Donahue trying to go in with them, and them now not only holding their own, but I mean killing it on those shows, man. And so the consciousness of the people raised even more, and the respect of them even raised more. So you had people joining the Nation of Islam because of that, and then you had a whole bunch of sympathizers. So they wanted to put a cap on that as soon as possible.
I mean, very much so. Like that wave and movement even welcomes them to different college campuses, and and then even those trying to stifle the movement of that, and you're there, so you learn a lot about the booking from that perspective.
So I'm learning how to work with groups, entertainers, comedians, rock groups,
and also venues, because it's the other
venues,
audio guys, video guys,
all the above. I'm learning, firsthand doing that. But I also remember during that era of time, Minister Farrakhan going to Michigan State was a huge thing. He gave a huge speech there. But it was also my introduction to the Nation of Islam in the early 90s. We bought, at the time, the minister of the Detroit Mosque was Rasul Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's son. So he came up to Ferris and share those teachings with us, and that was inspiring. But we also had Dr. Ben on campus. We had Dr. Kawanja Kunjufu on campus. We had KRS-One came up. Nikki Giovanni, Jesse Jackson, Maya Angelou. I saw all these people on campus, man. I'm missing some people. Dr. Naeem Akbar. So that era of time, man, was just powerful for just getting that type of information. Plus, we're reading books. I remember in one of my conversations with Joe Rogan, I give him my copy of Behold the Pale Horse. So we're having conversations about conspiracy theories back then. And so he I gave him my copy of that. He wasn't familiar with that at the time. So but those were the things that we're reading, man. So it was powerful, bro.
And definitely when you talk about that, certainly you even mentioned Vaughn books and the Shrine of Black Madonna here.
So and when I think about the Shrine and before going to college, the consciousness in local hip hop, man. I mean, Awesome Dre,
Chaos and Maestro.
They're Afrocentric, powerful,
definitely.
Awesome Dre's, his videos, looking like Malcolm X teacher in the classroom, teacher. That was powerful, and to know that those were people that we had access to. Those were our superstars in Detroit.
And I mean, even moving in that direction, Nikki D or Kalima, shout out to Kalima,
that's my sister. Who's working on her Ph.D. right now, about to get hers. So I mean, that's the other thing, man, is that those of us who were in those circles at the time, man, a lot of us have gone through the ranks, and the things that we're doing now, man. It's just
I mean, just in the names that you know what I'm saying, between Tafari, Jason, you and Kalima, that's every nook and cranny of the United States of America.
And you throw in put Jessica Care Moore in.
I mean, if we it's like I was just saying,
but those are peers, you know what I'm saying? And those of us who I was inspired by Chaos and Maestro, you know what I'm saying? But to see where Brother Jason is now, Tafari is right now, I mean, it's amazing. And it's not surprising. It's not surprising that Kari Kamani Turner is doing what he's doing right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all were inspired by that era of time. And it's just amazing to see, look around and see everybody doing what they're doing right now. It's not surprising at all.
So I think I've heard this story a little bit from the lens of, and shout out to Omari King Wise. I've heard it from his perspective of how you kind of get going and managing like a group of some of the poets that come together and some of the other people in it. What was the launch into you managing groups here in the D? And then also, I guess even a larger question even before that, what, because Ferris, you can go other places. What brought you back to the D?
Teaching.
Okay.
I got a job in the Detroit Public Schools. Well, prior to that was Detroit Job Corps.
Okay.
So I started teaching at the Detroit Job Corps. I taught there for 3 years.
The one down the street off 12th?
It was on Jefferson at the time.
Okay.
But when I was a part of the transition going from East Jefferson to 12th Street.
Okay.
Yep. So, so it was Detroit Job Corps and then Detroit Public Schools. That's what brought me home. I wanted to come home and teach, man. I wanted to be, I was
in the community.
I was inspired by those teachers I had.
Yeah, I was going to say by my man. Okay.
So,
Mama Shushana,
elementary school, I had a math teacher, Mr. Shelton. Mr. Shelton was a bad brother, man. Yeah.
Okay.
So all those teachers, man. I had a music teacher, Mrs. Robinson, who was phenomenal.
Okay.
Miss Hunter, who was a math teacher. But all these Black teachers who again were coming out of the civil rights movement, the Black Power era, and they were inspired to teach young Black kids. And I was one of those students.
And then even when we get to, especially as you're touching there, and I mean, it's getting less and less, when you're starting some of your school journey, but definitely if you're getting back in school, like early 90s, like mid 90s, well, boy, the role of Black men that are as teachers, and then this is another thing, like I always say, and, and you said even Jawaza Kenjufu spoke on campus there, like some of it is just a cultural understanding, like, because you were a boy, it's like, man, it's a lot of disconnect because it's many of us, me included, like, from first to 12th grade, you may be able to count on two hands all the Black male teachers. And really, if you could get to this second hand, that may be surprising.
Yeah. When I was at Ferris, I think I was one of 5 or 6 Black male pre-teachers in the state of Michigan. There was not many of us at all.
Okay, 1 second. I gotta, because I know that's gonna end up a real clip. So when you think the state of Michigan,
pre-teacher programs on all the college campuses, there wasn't more than you pushing if it was 10.
Damn.
Yeah, and just to give you perspective, when I graduated from the University of Illinois in the curriculum instruction program, I was the first Black male in about 10 years to get a Ph.D. in the program I was in. That's not a lot, bro. That's visible.
And this is like, it's the waves of, I know Jawaza Kenjufu speaking about it, and then more of the data showing it's like, the school to prison pipeline that is talked about. But so much of this is just a disconnect, because when I do think of, especially like if it's like a younger brother, like when I was at Aisha Shule, I don't know what he doing now, but shout out like a Baba William and everything, like they could interact with us in a way that just get us to, what I'm saying, engage differently.
You need that male presence, bro. It makes a huge difference for a young Black male to see a Black male in front of them. I mean, and there's research to support that,
and I mean, to just think that, damn, bro, you said one of 10 in the whole state.
Yeah, I don't think it was 10 of us.
So when we think of like at that time, especially how many, it's so many colleges and universities in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They were not pushing for Black male teachers. And then when I got into DPS, there was only a minority of us who were under the age of 50. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a small minority of us.
And that's what makes like the waves of, even though it's strongly contested, but some of the work of like what becomes the Malcolm X Academy and why it was needed and what this could be centered. And then people saying that like, nah, this is ostracizing things and it blending to Marcus Garvey, and even some of the legacy that stands now, like, this is in response to what was needed. And Lord knows, I know Frederick Douglass now stands differently, but you know, it's like clearly people need to connect with these brothers.
Yeah. And then, there's a movement in the Detroit public schools in the early 90s for this Afrocentric curriculum.
Oh, it's big,
and
man.
It's huge.
It wins out, and that's documented in Detroit's different archives. So definitely rest in peace to Kwame Kenyatta, that at the time is in the school board, and his story.
There's two curriculums at the time. It's the DPS curriculum, general curriculum, and then there's an Afrocentric curriculum that's supposed to be taught at the same time. And that's powerful. But the challenge becomes if you don't have teachers who've been prepared to teach that curriculum, they'll just throw that to the side. Like, it's on the books. I don't know if it's still on the books now or not, but it was on the books. But I was teaching both curriculums because I saw the value in it, because I had been taught by Dr. Ben and Dr. Jawaza Kanchufu. I had learned about the value of that, and seeing Baba Kwame Kenyatta like sacrifice, Ed Vaughn sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? Like, to make sure that these things got into DPS. Dr. Ray Johnson. Man, at Paul Robeson Academy.
Yeah, man.
When I came back from the Million Man March in '95, I know I'm speaking forward a little bit. Man, I was, wanted to find somewhere to volunteer, and I was at Paul Robeson with him.
Yeah,
and just going into the lunchroom and just helping out.
Yeah, and I mean, when we think of that Paul Robeson Academy, and even like that's eventually. He moves into the State House, but that's where Mayor Kilpatrick's post FAMU. And I mean, that's not just one, it's like an institution of a lot more of the Black leadership from.
But prior to him going to the state, he's over at Marcus Garvey Academy teaching. He's teaching social studies. So we're on the same, same time. We graduate from high school same year. Goes to FAMU, go to Ferris. And then when he's in the state, we bring him over to Job Corps in Jefferson. So that was my first time meeting him,
interacting with him,
and seeing how dynamic he was.
Yeah,
and
the movement of this, and I do want to ask, because as we say, like you're, that being the teacher is so revolutionary, especially when we think of like you say, like how many Black men are you interacting with as a child, period, if you're a man, and how are you divining, the role and the path as much as you can, especially the older I've gotten, like as much as I was like, I can look at Tupac, I can look at Ice Cube, I don't know them, I'm seeing them from TV, but I know, Uncle Edgar, I know my dad, I know my granddad. It's like I have these figures in front of me, and hence for so many brothers that just due to whatever family dynamics, they may not even be interacting with another brother. So hence that teacher being at least a frame of reference can be very heavy.
Yeah. But there's another dynamic that I want to highlight that gives Detroiters 1970s, 80s, 90s a very unique experience that as I travel around the country, I've come to realize that we had something special that nobody else or very few people had.
I already know where you're going.
And I tell people all the time, I felt like I grew up in Wakanda. and the reason being is that we grew up at a time where we've only known a Black mayor. That's a unique experience for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We knew Black politicians from city council, school boards, superintendents.
I mean, the first county commissioner, Bill Lucas.
Yeah, Bill Lucas gave me an award when I was in high school.
Wow.
So Bill Lucas, I wanted to be like Chief Hart. You know what I'm saying? Like seeing him, I was on the on that law enforcement track. I'm in my mind, I'm like, I could be chief of police. You know what I'm saying? So it was seeing Black entrepreneurs, Black clergy, all these different people, Black doctors, and the Keys Group. You know what I'm saying? All these Black commercials. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff, had an impact on me. I mean, that I think most people don't appreciate wholly, because sometimes when this is all you assume that that's it. You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean, even the shoe store you worked at, like as you talk about Fast Freddy, and when I say this, I mean this. Like, if 1986, if Don Cornelius walks in and Nat Morris and Fast Freddy walk in, it's gonna be the same type of energy, possibly more for Fast Freddy and Nat Morris than Don Cornelius, because even though we know he's connected to Soul Train, it's a different energy. I mean, even in interviewing, and rest in peace, El Fiddler, because an interview with El Fiddler when I was like, yo, man, you play with RJ's latest arrival, and I didn't know and he was like, man, playing with RJ, man, you couldn't even move around the city at one point in time. But you got to be from the city to know. And
exactly. Yeah.
You would think to yourself, like, damn, he done played with, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, getting on the road with George kind of was, still crazy, but, in the D,
man. Yeah. Speaking of George, I remember being in high school, man, and knowing that Gabe Gonzalez was leaving school for periods of time in high school, going out on the road with George.
Wow.
I mean, that right there is incredible, man. So yeah, man, but just having all these different experiences. And so for me, going back to Ferris real quick, I was a part of a poetry collective in college. It's called Third Stone from the Sun. It was named after a Jimi Hendrix song. And so the poet, his name was Omar Hyatt, rest in peace. I played drums, and one brother played guitar, another brother played drums. And basically what we were doing was we were imitating the Last Poets.
I was gonna say in honoring of the Last Poets.
Yeah. We were imitating the Last Poets. Now there's a sister on the scene at the time, poet by the name of Vivi Francis. Vivi is now a tenured professor at Brown, I believe. But dynamic poet, one of the top poets in the country. Very well recognized. But she saw us at a coffee house in Ferndale. And when she saw us, she instantly was like, I'll try and be like the Last Poets.
Hilarious.
I was like, yeah, that's a compliment. And she's like, well, I know the Last Poets. I'm about to introduce you. And they happened to be on Lollapalooza that year. And so she told the Last Poets about us, and Umar bin Hassan called me while I was a student at Ferris.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, bro, I hear y'all doing something like the Last Poets. Let me, I want to see y'all.
Yeah.
I'm like, we could make that happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that weekend I came, he was living in Flint with his sister. So I came down to Flint, picked him up, brought him up to Ferris.
Wow.
And we just did an impromptu thing at a coffee house at Ferris for him. And, he respected us enough to say, yeah, y'all doing a good job.
Okay.
And but that started a relationship with me and Umar that has lasted up until today.
Wow.
So he allowed me to start booking shows for the Last Poets back then. So they're my very first clients.
Wow.
And so that was 94.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was my entry into
booking.
Let me be an agent. So, and that's how I first met Proof. Because I was downtown in Greektown. There was a restaurant called the Mediterranean Restaurant. And it was, right smack dab in Greektown.
Yeah.
After St. Andrews, three floors of fun, or whatever else was happening downtown. All, who's who would go to the Mediterranean.
Okay.
That's where you would see Jay Dilla, by 10, Proof, 5 Ella, blah, blah, blah. Everybody would be up in the Mediterranean. So one night, I see Proof, and he has a flyer, and he's promoting the show. I have a flyer for the Last Poets. We exchange flyers. He sees I'm working on the Last Poets, and he knows who they are. He's like, oh, wow. I get this flyer from him. It's like 5 Ella. I'm like, oh, this is dope. And he was like, man, my group, they need management. And I was like, all right. He's like, do you do management? I was like, I said, yeah. I mean, I can. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, man, well, why don't you come meet with us and let's talk. So a couple weeks after that, I meet with the brothers, Mud, Thyme, and Proof. And they're like, yo, what can you do for us? And just so happens I had a gig at U of M for the Last Poets. I was like, I can have y'all open up for the Last Poets at U of M. And at that time, that was a huge thing for them. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, cool, let's do it. So that pretty much gave me my credibility with them.
Well,
So we went to U of M with the Last Poets, and just so happens in the crowd there's this young, at the time, young white girl rapping, freestyling, and she's killing it, and it happens to be Invincible.
Wow.
And Invincible, I think, was 17 at the time. She they were young.
Yeah.
And Invincible was killing it.
Yeah.
And so they, the Last Poets was like, yo, got skills. You know what I'm saying? And but that was my first experience.
Wow.
With Invincible at the time, and then to see Invincible's growth over the years.
Oh, definitely.
And her activism and their activism, excuse me, amazing. Right?
Well, I definitely want to add this as well. You clearly automatically knowing them at the time, and just the stories I hear, you learned the difference between managing the Last Poets and hip hop acts. Very very soon.
Yeah. So it ended up. That ended up just being the start of just experience and relationship that really changed the world. I mean, changed my world simply because I got a passport as a result of that relationship.
Okay.
So it just grows from there. But also with the Last Poets, it's my first time meeting Jessica Care Moore. It's my first time meeting Kari Kamani Turner. It's my first time meeting a bunch of people on that scene at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get plugged into that scene, poetry and hip hop at that time in the first real intentional type of way. Although I had visited the hip hop shop prior to that. A friend of mine, Bernard, worked at the hip hop shop, so I was going to the hip hop shop some years, but I just didn't have a relationship with the guys like that. Like my entry point to the hip hop shop was Bernard, Bernie, and but then just meeting those guys, some couple years after that, man. But
okay,
but the rest is history, man.
So from there. Definitely as that grows, and I know Proof, you shared this story, which is so unique, about him even supporting some of the growth of you growing the collection.
Yeah.
When does it hit you to say, like, okay, I want to start presenting this collection?
So that happened right after the Million Man March. So Minister Farrakhan comes to Detroit, I think in early '95.
Yeah.
Comes to Kobo, and 10,000 black men go to Kobo. And it was Kobo or Joe Louis. It might have been Joe Louis. But either or. He says that he's making this call for 1 million black men to go to Washington, D.C. And I'm like, really? It's like 1 million?
Yeah.
And, they're like, yeah, 1 million. I'm like, like, I don't know what that's going to look like, but I want to be there.
Yeah.
So I'm going. And so, I went, got on the bus. I remember, Detroit organized hard for the Million Man March, man.
Definitely.
It was, I want to say 60,000 black men.
I was a kid, but I was definitely there. I mean, out of that comes the Million Man alumni. It's a lot that grows out of that, but also it was, there were groups connected to church. There were groups connected, I think, more to the Afrocentricity and that movement, Pan-Africanism. It was some business folks. It was different.
A little bit of everybody, man.
Yeah.
And I got on the bus at the Michigan State Fairgrounds, and we took off and got there 9-10 hours later.
Yeah.
Early morning. Man, and walking out on that mall and seeing 1 million black men plus out on that mall when the call to prayer was made and the drums were going, man, bro, to see all the speakers who spoke that day, man, from Jesse to Stevie Wonder to the sisters, Maya Angelou, Dr. Dorothy Height, Rosa Parks, man. Dr. Betty Shabazz. I mean, having her on stage. I mean, just what it took to have her on stage that day was just nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah.
And then to have Minister Farrakhan come up and drop what he dropped on us, and for me, the marching orders to go back to Detroit to make a difference in the community, to take responsibility in the community, just resonated deeply with me. I didn't know what that was going to look like.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I came back. So one of the first things I did was, volunteer. So my volunteerism came via Dr. Ray Johnson's, Paul Robeson Academy. Went over there, started volunteering for lunch duty.
Okay.
And that was encouraging, inspiring. And then I connected with Minister Malik Shabazz. And that was my first time connecting with him. And to see the work that he was doing,
and at that time, the New Black Panther Party that he was
at
that
the time,
was after
that the New Black Panther Party didn't exist at that time.
Yeah.
No, it was the New Marcus Garvey movement.
Okay.
The New Black Panther Party came
out of that
after Dr. Khalid Muhammad started coming to Detroit.
Yeah,
and so he pretty much spearheaded that shift. But going to see participating in Minister Malik Shabazz's, sometimes marching on crack houses with him, or party stores.
Yeah.
But for me, more importantly, going to his weekly meetings where he was bringing in, your Steve Coakley's, Dr. Barashango. So that experience I had at Ferris with meeting these Black scholars extended.
It carries over
into that experience. Dr. Runoko Rashidi, I'm meeting these people, and I mean, the spaces that I was in during that time, there weren't hundreds of people coming out to see Dr. Rashidi, but in this room of maybe 25 or 30 people, man, that type of intimate experience with these great scholars was phenomenal, bro.
Yeah.
Dale Jones, 10 people in the audience. Dr. Khalid Muhammad, 30 people in the audience, and he's bringing fire, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And man, that had a huge impact. But at one point I asked Malik Shabazz, and shout out to Malik, man. That's my heart. That's my big brother. I asked him if I can set up an exhibit. And this is my first time trying to present in a public space. So, 2 tables about this size, man. Just laying out
nothing
heavy. Nothing heavy at all. But laying it out and people seeing the material and they're going, this from the Charles Wright Museum? I was like, no, this is my stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to share some material and teach a little bit. Man, people are really impressed. You know what I'm saying? And I knew I had some stuff, but you don't get a sense of
what it is and how people gonna respond
until you see they
respond.
Yeah. So I'm like, wow. And they're like, you got more of this? Yeah. Well, can you come to my church, my school? So bit by bit, it just spread and just grew from there. So that was 90, 95, 96 when that process started.
So up to that point, I also know that also like in the history of Black folks. And then, Lord knows, I saw him at the naming of Joanne Watson's street. It was good to see him and his wife. But Dr. Robert Bland from Lewis College of Business, that was very instrumental in a lot of the exhibit of the Mayafa that's there at the Charles Wright Museum. That's going on. Do you connect with Dr. Bland or any people from Charles Wright in that time early? Is there
early on? No, there's no
relationship,
no connection relationship early on. But my very first museum experience was going to Dr. Wright's museum on West Grand Boulevard when I was in middle school. So that experience planted a seed that didn't germinate until
later
a long time after. And so I can easily make that connection between what I'm doing right now
and what he was doing.
Yeah, and what he was doing in that experience. So yeah.
Okay, so early on, you're just going to churches and different things like that. Yeah. As you start seeing people respond and appreciate this, does this like ramp up like, oh, I want to get this or I want to get that? You've shared a little bit of how you find this stuff. Is it like, are you going out like I'm looking specifically for something, or is it more so like I'm gonna go to these places and see what I can find?
I'm going to those places to see what I can find because
Okay.
you never know what you're gonna find. So I'm
Okay.
going into antiques.
And wait,
antique
time out. I gotta
Yeah.
also frame this. This is pre like Amazon and eBay
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, you know, you gotta go to places.
You gotta go to places.
Okay.
So I'm finding treasure troves in certain places.
Mm.
So in the early 90s, to walk into Baba Ed Vaughn's shop on Livernois,
Mm-hmm.
that is just like, you know, his son, you know, Eric owns, you know, his frame shop. And that his shop, Eric's shop today
Mm-hmm.
is completely opposite of what
Mm-hmm.
you know Baba's shop was. I mean, the roof was falling down. It was drafty. It was buckets because water was dripping over here.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like you just go in and it's just stuff around.
Yeah.
And if you find something, you pick it up and you go ask him, how much is this?
Mm-hmm.
So, but he has a treasure trove of material.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw this poster out here, in the hallway here, the black slate, bruh, or the drum, man, I remember that poster being in that shop.
Yeah.
And that poster, I mean, he's probably selling it for $1 back then.
Yeah.
And that poster's probably worth about $1,000.
Yeah.
Really, right?
Yeah.
So I'm picking up Black Panther material, and he has these original bumper stickers.
Yeah.
Free Huey, Free Angela.
Yeah.
Black Panther newspapers.
Yeah.
I buy a box of Muhammad Ali versus Superman comic books from him. Unopened. For he only charged me $100.
I still got, my mom got me one of those and it's hanging up. It may be one of the few like definitely comic books. It's just hanging up in my crib.
Yeah. I mean, but those are precious treasures from our childhood and just pop culture.
And also, like, if anybody ever looks at the cover, like, you see, like, it's not just like Batman and other comic book characters. You see, like, Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis
Jackson
Jr.
5.
Yeah, it's like, whoa.
Everybody's
like,
in that.
Yes, in the crowd. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm getting that type of stuff. I'm getting posters of the Jackson 5 and Black Light posters and, Black Power posters, all types of stuff I got from him. Original Black Panther posters from him, Emory Douglas, original Emory Douglas posters from him, H. Rap Brown, Mary Baraka, Sam Napier, all these, just a bunch of stuff.
So
and so I'm getting them at at very good
deals,
and he gets a sense of what I'm doing, and I don't really know actually what I'm going to be doing, but I know that when I'm seeing this stuff, I'm like, it's valuable.
Yeah.
Like, I want to preserve this stuff if I'm getting it for. I mean, he charged me 50 cents for a Black Panther bumper sticker that historically you don't see those ever.
Yeah.
And then when you see them on auction now, they're going for a whole bunch of money. So it's like I'm able to get things like that back then that you just can't find today at all. So I'm going there. I'm going to the Shrine of the Black Madonna. I'm going to antique shops around the city, and then used bookstore, John King Books. I'm finding some interesting things down there. I found a letter written by Langston Hughes down there. I found letters written by Adam Clayton Powell down there.
Wow.
One of the things that I should have got that I was sleeping on, he had 2 copies of the first issue of Ebony magazine down there.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I know where they are. I'll go back and get them when I can.
Should have got it.
Should have got them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but those things you just funny.
So I do want to ask, and this, like, by this time I'm guessing how do you build the process of like now, like protecting them, not just keeping them down in the basement to the side, like what's the process then?
So you have to realize I'm doing this on the teacher's salary.
Yep.
So preservation is not my.
I got you. You're not even there.
It's not my
first.
For real. It's not my first. It's not my first concern.
Okay.
So preservation and cataloging.
Yep.
That wasn't even on the scene until as a matter of fact, I didn't even start making those considerations seriously until probably in the past 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I really
Yeah.
want to kind of
So-
come from that just because this is the other thing, and I guess people always talk about it, but it's valuable, like databasing, because I'm guessing you've collected and have so much stuff, but like, you know, when things are organized, and this is for anybody that wants to get into the world of video editing, naming your folders, know where it is, it just helps you immensely because you may just get a phone call from God knows who. It's like, yo, can you bring anything connected to X? And you like, I know I got this stuff. Where's it at?
Yeah. So, you know, that process has changed over time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm at the point now where I would say only about a third of it is organized where I can go, all right, I need some Black Panther material, or I need Motown material, or I need Detroit-based material, or I need sports material, or I need hip-hop material. I know exactly where to go get it. But I've got other things that it's going to, I told my daughter, I was like, I might not see in my lifetime this being cataloged.
I got you.
That might not.
That's real.
That's not. That might not be my work.
That's real.
But for me though, my personal thing, more important than anything else, is making sure that I get this material in front of people so that they can be inspired by it. Because what does it mean for me to have the material cataloged? Locked away, because that's the same critique that I have of these other Black institutions.
Yeah,
that's why I started this, because it's about accessibility. So if I'm not making it accessible and bringing it to the people, then what's the point?
And even still kind of in that arc for a lot of us, especially when it comes to hip hop, because I used to have so many Source magazines where now I'm like, damn, I wish I'd have kept some of those.
Yeah,
and XXLs and stuff like that where. Now I got a couple of the older ones, but those moments in time, and similar to like those Black Panther stickers and stuff like that, this isn't, you know, this ain't a Disney movie. It's not like we gonna release this collection now and then in 4 years it's gonna come back, or like Jordan sneakers. Like some of this is one print, it's one run, just because it is what it is.
And then people, you know, when those runs are made, people are actually using these things. These are bumper stickers, you know, so it's going to be on somebody's bumper. Or this is a Black Power poster that's going to be on somebody's wall for a few years, and then you're going to take it and throw it away. So, so these things, you know, they're rare right now.
And I've seen some of your Michael Jackson stuff, but you just always think it's like, damn, it was people on that damn Bad tour. They got the shirt, wore it every day. You know what I'm saying?
And then gave it to Salvation Army.
The McDonald's Dream Team cups.
Oh, yeah.
I know I had one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where it's like the person that got all of that, you know, you got just two of those. It's like, you know. So as you take this to people, what's been some of the more interesting places that, you know, you've gone?
So in 2006, I took it from it being a local Detroit exhibit. Yeah. So you're looking at 10 years from you know 95, 96 to 2006. It becomes national in 2006, right after Proof is killed. All right, I take it to a national convention. And that convention gives me a national platform. Wow! So I'm for the first time, I'm taking the collection on the plane across the country, setting up a full exhibit, 150 or so artifacts on 10, 15 tables, and these college campuses, decision makers, are seeing this exhibit out. And so when I left that conference, I come home to emails, a lot of them. Like, can you come to campus? And that's where it starts on a national level.
And this is the other thing too, because as you talk about 2006, I mean, it's 2026 now. Yeah. But even me included, but it does need to be contextualized. So much of hip hop history has happened just like really before our lifetime. And nobody's ever stopping to like mark what this is and how this is And that's where your exhibit helps, because even just walking through, looking at some of the stuff, I'm like, I specifically remember that, which definitely makes me feel like, definitely, when the older person's walking by looking at something before my age, but nobody's even putting some of this stuff into context at all.
So this is where my legacy and my contribution to the Black museum movement happens. If we go back to Dr. Wright, Dr. Margaret Burroughs, they're collecting from a civil rights perspective and sensibility and pre-physical museum type situation, right? And so that's what they're doing at the time. They're helping to professionalize and institutionalize the Black museum movement, right? Fast forward to Dr. Pilgrim. What he's doing is taking this very specific Jim Crow,
I would say pop culture of the time.
And his contribution is like you said, categorizing what's a pickaninny, right?
What versus a mammy versus
and he's doing very, very important work in that. And really, if you hear people talking about those stereotypical caricatures, usually they're referencing his material.
I was going to say his material is the foundation for wherever you go with any of it.
Absolutely.
It's basically like he set this is the standard.
Exactly. So in my unique experience with this, because I'm coming from a hip hop experience, as I'm collecting, I'm not consciously knowing all that's happening in terms of my collecting. I'm not sitting back and going, I'm specifically collecting.
I got you. So like, I need this because I think that this will happen, or that because that'll happen.
Exactly.
Hip hop's happening. So like, if you end up, this year Jay-Z's doing the Yankee Concert Stadium, but you've connected enough in hip hop where you could probably put a table of Jay-Z stuff out.
So my life experience as a collector, I'm collecting hip hop because it's a part of my experience in terms of me being a fan and being in the culture, but it's also a part of me being in the business as well, because I'm connecting the Last Poets to
Five
Ella and so on and so forth. Jessica is doing what she's doing pre going to the Apollo, so I'm collecting Jessica stuff simply because
you're there.
I'm there, and I'm saying, and I have access to her and other and other people as well. So what I don't realize at the time, by default and by my positionality in the culture, I'm part of a very small group of people who are actually collecting and archiving hip hop memorabilia.
You completely are, to the point where, and I think you may have did it because you knew I was going to come up there that day at Wayne State. It's like, I've seen some stuff where like, I think it's a bunch of people that don't know that, yes, before this, the microphone I was on was hip hop. Like you have something from me in it. I'm like, damn, I don't even have that no more.
Exactly. And so, but I'm doing that because not intentionally doing it, but it's not until, I write a book. It's for my master's degree at Western Michigan. And it's the first book ever written on hip hop memorabilia, period. So when I put this book out, I start meeting people like Paradise Gray, Martha Diaz, Bill Adler. I meet Bill Adler because of my relationship with Umar bin Hassan. Bill Adler just so happens to be the largest collector of hip hop memorabilia, period.
I interview him in my New York. So shout out to Kier Worthy for hooking that up. I interview him in New York because he's from Detroit and there, and we get into like the deepest dive about John Sinclair. It's a cool interview.
Man, I'm telling you. So somebody like him, I go to his office in New York.
Yep.
And he's like, and he knows what I do.
Yeah.
He brings me into this room and he goes, man, have fun. And it's file cases of hip hop material, A through Z. When you talk about somebody who's organized and categorized stuff, Bill Adler.
You know what's so funny? His roots also, when I interview him, it's like, I was collecting comics and similar in the sense.
But a lot of us. So him, Paradise Gray, comic books, but Paradise also mentioned in the fact that a lot of the early hip hop flyers were like characters, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, and so a lot of people were reading
Mhm.
comic books. So of course, African Bambaata's,
Yeah.
was going, Renegades of Funk, I think it was, had, they cartoon characters.
I mean, even in people, many of the discussions about who penned the verse, because it may be Grandmaster Caz, but the whole in Rapper's Delight, it's like he's dissing Superman for no reason, but that's because you know what I'm saying. What's happening at the time? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So I mean, it's really all all of that. But going back to just being this small group of collectors,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that this group of people had learned about my work and were like, "Oh, this guy over in Detroit, he's doing this.
He's got in the group.
Yeah, he's got a hip hop so."
Mhm.
People kept on saying I had a hip hop museum.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got a Black History Museum.
Yep.
But people are like, no, this is a hip hop museum.
Mhm.
So when Proof passed, I got a trailer. So it was my first time, actually getting something where people can actually walk through. And so on the outside of the trailer, I had brother Syntex, graffiti artist.
Shout out Syntex.
Shout out to my brother. He spray painted the outside. So of course, Jay Dilla passed that year as well. So on one side it was Jay Dilla, on the other side it was Proof, and so this was the very first, really in America, a standalone space where people can walk through and see hip hop memorabilia. My idea wasn't for it to always be hip hop, but it was the start of eventually that was going to get painted over and it's going to be Malcolm X or whoever.
Yeah,
but just getting started. But when I had that museum, that traveling exhibit, KRS-One came through there, and he's the one who said this is the official hip hop museum right here.
Hilarious.
Yeah, so he gave me, he gave me mad respect for that. And then Chuck D came through. And so having these these hip hop legends come through and kind of sign off and give respect like that just took it to a whole different level. And then you asked earlier about the Charles Wright Museum. They invited me to bring the museum down to Hart Plaza. Couple
during
times,
African World Festival.
African World Festival a couple times. And so that's when, for the first time, it got like the city knew the work of it. And really, hundreds of people came through over the course of those few days. Well, probably thousands of people came through.
Man, like the clothing, I remember those Yo MTV apps trading cards, and it's like, damn, I never bought a pack of those. You know what I'm saying? So like some of this stuff, like I say, it's stuff where I know the artists don't even have this stuff.
Yeah, and that's what's that's what really surprises people, and people see the value of that type of material because of that. And you look at things differently when you see it in a museum space because again, it institutionalizes and gives credibility to the culture.
Yeah.
And we have to do that. I had a conversation with KRS-One, and we talked about the importance of us giving value to our things before anybody else gives value to it. We have to be the ones that say this coat is valuable. These flyers are valuable. These flyers are the things that tell our history, and we need to be in control of it before somebody else gives that narrative.
Right now, those initial hip hop flyers of what was happening in the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queens are the most talked about. Like, okay, this can trace the origin because this DJ did this or did that. And I mean, even shout out to, I don't know if you connected me with him or Piper. I don't know, but I know you connected to him. But even like Davey D and Davey, like, being able to track so much of like Oakland's hip hop history, it is so much of this definitely deals with flyers.
Oh, absolutely.
But it also, you rocking the underground resistance piece. But similar even with that music, because it's happening and it's going, you don't know what's happening.
Well, taking it back to them in Detroit in the mid 80s, late 80s into the 90s, there was not a huge difference between those communities. We interacted all the time. So I mentioned 3 floors of fun. Techno on the top, hip hop on the main floor, house in the bottom. You know, that it went like that. You know what I'm saying? So all these different groups of people, depending upon what you want to feel, you can go see all those things in one night.
And even like even mid 80s, just hip hop music, period. Like, you know, like Stetsasonic.
Yeah.
I mean, when I tell this, people trip out, but like on NWA's first album, NWA, with Straight Outta Compton and F the Police, it's a like, all right, now it's a party cut. We about to make you dance.
Yeah.
In the middle of the whole album. You know what I'm saying? So like even this whole concept of, I mean, shit, Dr. Dre, world-class wrecking crew.
Absolutely.
And like the Arabian Nights.
Shout out to Zoe. Yeah.
You're like, this stuff is like, you're right. It's a very, you know, hip hop is dance culture, especially in the 80s, late 70s.
Yeah.
You know, that's what, like, the MC is just keeping it like going. I think, you know, the arcs of it as it transfers to like, shout out to my homie Sterling talking about like the experience of it kind of goes from like music you're listening to in the club to I think music you're listening to in the car. And then when it's music you're listening to in headphones, Walkman, it's like all of these are different experiences. And I think that that's also informs like how you listen to the music. The best artist to tie a lot of that together, and I think he is one of the greatest hip hop artists of all time, and that's LL Cool J, because he kind of has music that pans all of that.
Yeah, but you know, in Detroit in the '80s, I mean, we can't have this conversation without talking about the man who socialized all of us into these different genres of music.
Electrifying Mojo.
And that's Electrifying Mojo, man. And he's the one who introduced on the radio techno. You know what I'm saying? He's the first one who put that on the radio for us to listen to. And then you know, and then of course, you know, the Wizard. So I mean, we're getting all of that at one time. So we're getting hip hop, we're getting techno, we're getting house, we're getting funk, we're getting, you know,
I mean, you're getting...
And we get classical with him later on.
Yeah, I was going to say...
we're getting everything with Mojo.
So like, and this
we're getting the B-52s, we're getting, you know, Fry Fork, we're getting all that, man.
It's so funny because Lauren Hood, and I know you know Lauren, and she's like, a new project is like, yo, I'm about to make this like black folks listen to different type of music. And I was like, some of the most gangster dudes I've known like since I was a kid is like huge B-52 fans. But I'm like, stuff like that exists because at that time, you know, who Mojo is, and I mean, even rest in peace, Prince credits so much of a lot of, you know, the love that Detroiters, and I definitely know people love Prince everywhere, but the relation, you know, Prince extends, you know, the concerts that he's doing in Detroit at Joe Louis just because probably from like 1986 till he passed, I think Prince probably, if he'd have did 30 dates straight in Detroit, it'd have been sold out every day.
Yeah, no doubt.
And you could pick the venue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's a lot to do with Mojo. You know, because, the playlist that he would make, nothing like this, you know, corporate playlist where I think probably the DJ may be able to have an alternative of these 5 other songs that you got to select from. You're right. You know, if it was raining, he'd just play music with rain in it.
So we got Prince, right? But then we got George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic. I mean, so coming out of that scene, 70s, 80s, man, we're exposed to all types of stuff, bro.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So now I guess I want to say, what has been, in growing the exhibit in the museum, what has been like one of the most unique pieces you've added that you can think of when you tell one of those stories?
One of the most unique pieces that is in the museum is the original court papers that sent Malcolm X and Malcolm Shorty Jarvis and the white women to prison. Well, they went to reformatory.
Wow.
But Malcolm and Shorty.
How did you come about that? What was the connection?
Yeah. So long story short, I got a phone call from a gentleman out in Connecticut who had won a storage unit auction. And when he went into the auction and started looking through the material, he kept on seeing things related to Malcolm X. And then he shortly realized that it was Malcolm Shorty Jarvis, Malcolm X's best friend. I was in my first year of my master's degree program at Woodson. I had just got a job and had a little bit of money, but I didn't have enough money to pay for that. But I had a partner out in Omaha, Nebraska, who was the head of the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. They didn't have a whole bunch of money either. But we had a conversation and we decided that we're going to pool our resources together to make sure that we got it, because the guy didn't want to break up the material and sell it individually. He was like, well, I want to make sure it goes to good hands, but I want to sell it as a lot. So we were like, all right, well, let's try to get it. So we raised the money and we got it. And, the deal was that the material would stay out at the home site as long as people had access to it. And then I would have access to it. But we know we're co-owners of it. But amongst that material was Shorty's original trumpet. He wrote a concerto while he was in prison with Malcolm.
Wow.
Malcolm X mentions it in the autobiography of Malcolm X. We have the original concerto. And we have the court papers, we have photographs, we have scrapbooks, because he also documented Malcolm's life as well as his own life. And of course, Spike Lee plays Shorty in the movie, so all his interaction with Spike and all that type of stuff, that's in there. And so that's how I got the papers.
Okay. And now I guess in that being that piece, like very unique piece, what has been the most how do I put it, like surprising, meaning like they didn't know what this was, but it's like, I can't believe that you actually gonna sell this. Like, what's been one of the more shocking pieces that you've been able to get in the collection?
One of the most interesting, shocking pieces, and I tell people, archives are living entities, organisms, simply because something that means one thing today could be something completely different tomorrow, based upon time and circumstance.
The history and how it happens.
And for example, I used to collect a whole lot of Bill Cosby material. Got a lot of it. But all of a sudden, it means a little bit different. I've always collected a bunch of OJ stuff. Kind of changes.
You got that right.
But some years ago, I got a letter from 1959 that is signed by Harry Belafonte, Jackie Robinson, and Sidney Poitier. And this, at the time, they were a part of an organization called the African Student Foundation. African Student Foundation. African American Student Foundation, I think it was. And so this was a fundraising letter where they were trying to raise funds to bring African students to America for a college education.
Wow.
And so in this letter, it documents students from Kenya that they've already brought over. It's about 81 students. And that in the subsequent years after, they brought over hundreds of students. But this letter, because of this program, one of the first students that they brought over here was a young man that ended up going to the University of Hawaii, who ended up getting married to a young woman he met on campus, and they ended up having a son who eventually becomes the first Black president of the United States of America.
Barack Obama's father.
And so most people don't know that if it wasn't for Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier, and Jackie Robinson, that first Black president would not have been Barack Obama.
Wow.
So I have this original document, and I was able to share that story in the document on an ESPN documentary about Jackie Robinson. Yeah, just a few years ago. And so, and the reason why I was able to even extract that information out, because again, it takes time, because when I got it, I remember initially getting it because of the signatures. But at the time I got it, Barack Obama wasn't even on the scene. So again, this being a living piece, over time,
You look
becomes
back at it and
significant.
it's like,
And so I didn't I didn't even get to that point to even view the collection like that until I went to grad school, master's degree, and then Ph.D. program. So it was 2015-ish that I started looking at the collection and did through a different lens as a scholar, as a
I got
so,
you
so,
from so much of what you've learned and applying it to.
So I'm I'm a collector for many years. I'm a collector and an educator, practitioner, bringing the artifacts into the classroom and teaching with the material. And then all of a sudden, I'm a scholar researcher. And so this letter that looked like, oh, these are just signatures right here at the bottom. All of a sudden, the date becomes very important. All of a sudden, the title of this organization becomes very important. All of a sudden, the content takes on a whole different meaning. So as I'm reading it, I'm looking at the date. I'm looking at Kenya. I'm remembering, the birther movement and what the current president was saying about President Barack Obama. And I'm like, man, when did Barack's father come to America? Start looking up. Oh, really? Is there a list of names of these students who came over here? Go down the list. Barack Obama. I'm like, whoa. I'm like,
ain't that something?
This is valuable.
Wow.
This is a point. This is a artifact in history that needs to be shared with everybody. And and I'm wondering, did Barack Obama even know about this? Did Harry Belafonte even know about this? Who knows about this?
Yeah.
And come to find out, none of them. Not a lot of people knew at all. And I'm not sure when President Barack Obama found out.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it took him a while to find out. Yeah.
So, which leads to another question before I get into something more specific of it. But now, what has been one of the most surprising places that have welcomed you in the museum to present?
Quantico, the FBI.
Wow.
Academy. Yeah.
Well, how did that happen?
So imagine getting an email from the FBI.
Well,
in inviting you.
That's
so all types of red flags go up.
Yeah, you got that right.
I'm like, what? So I didn't think it was serious at first.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, kind of ignored it, and then they hit me up again. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, okay. And so you gotta understand, not only am I coming from Detroit, but my mentors, last poets. I didn't mention one of my big mentors, Sam Greenlee, who wrote The Spook Who Sat by the Door, who used to tour with the museum. I mean, huge influence. Ernie Panicoli, who I was introduced via Sam Greenlee, who's a huge mentor, huge supporter of the museum's work, and one of my confidants. So I when I get this email, I have to call my elders, like, yo, I just got this email, like,
what up?
What should I do? And so it's interesting because I knew I had to call them, but I'm also calling like my mother. So my mother, she's like, oh, congratulations. She's like, she's like rooting for me. Like, that's a great thing. I'm like, I don't know what this means. You know what I'm saying? But calling the elders, they're like, look, if they reached out to you about that, trust and believe they did enough research to know that, and this is my revolutionary mentor saying, look, go ahead and do it. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, go ahead. And so, I got permission and encouragement.
Yeah.
And like, go ahead and make it happen. And I did, man. And that was one of the most unique experiences that I've had simply because first of all, just going on that in that space.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's getting the Quantico
the security
the
and all that.
is deep, and it's huge. I mean, I don't even know how many thousands of acres that space is. Yeah. But you go through military checkpoints.
Many.
Yeah. And go through one, and then you drive a mile or two, and you go through another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was deep. So but I did not change anything up. I took them the same thing I took everywhere else.
And the presentation.
And presentation, and there's lynching photographs, there's stuff on King's assassination. I mean, there's everything, you know what I'm saying? And some of it is
implicates them.
It's damning information.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that was interesting about that experience is that year I was touring around with a guest book. And so people would write comments in this guest book. And that particular year, I wasn't expecting to get any comments in it. But when I got the guest book home, there were 5 pages of comments.
Wow.
From them, and thanking me. Like, we need this. Thank you.
Interesting.
Come again. That type of stuff. Like, very, very, very powerful, positive type of things. And one of the things I realized is that in that organization, you have some of the top forensic minds, scientists, law enforcement, cats, whatever, and they're brilliant at what they do. But they're like other agencies and educational institutions, they're not being exposed to the things I'm bringing to them like that.
Yeah.
So if you have a heart, a consciousness, any type of sensibility at all, you're going to walk away from that experience a little bit different than you do before you get into it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that has been the most lasting legacy of this work, is that on a level, it's a healing, it's an educational experience, it's moving, it's transformative, and I've been in a school district the past couple of weeks teaching second graders.
Yeah.
Man, so it goes from second grade all the way up to graduate. Yeah. So, but that's been my most interesting,
shocking.
space.
Like, okay, I didn't expect that.
And something I wasn't. Trust me, I wasn't expecting it either. But it's been from people's living rooms all the way up to there. 43 states now. Over 1,000 institutions, libraries, corporations. I mean, major corporations, government agencies, religious institutions, synagogues, mosques, churches. And one thing I realized, man, is like everywhere I go, we need it, bro, and we need it now more than ever.
I definitely agree, especially in this world of so much digital and AI being into things, to touch something tangible.
Yeah.
And just because it was printed don't necessarily mean it's truth either. But it's a different experience where now, and I consider myself good with this stuff. There's a lot of videos I look at and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So to touch something tangible and get to that place.
Yeah.
Definitely, because we 4 years away from watching the video where it's like, I don't know, it's like Tupac Shakur was riding a dinosaur, and you'd be like, what? Right. And I mean, and I'm sure it'll look real. You know what I'm saying? So I know also as we get closer to a close, you got a documentary about the work and the project now as well.
Yeah.
So you can share a little bit of that, but also if a person's willing to, if they want to see it or if they want to book it, how do they connect?
Yeah. So the documentary is called Living Proof. And it's a, full-length documentary, and it celebrates this 30 plus years now of the museum, and it features, people are close to me, and, my mom is in it, but I've been working with Khalid Ali for the past 6 years now, working as her manager. So she's in the film Paradise Gray, Ernie Panicoli. Man, I got to shout out my man, Professor Griff, who has been traveling with the museum for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
And that's been my right hand in this work. So, I can't talk about the history of this museum without talking about his contribution. And the museum has grown now to where there's actually 3 teams of us that go out on the road.
Yeah.
So Griff has an exhibit. I go out with my exhibit. And then Brother Omari and Victor Muhammad go out with the museum as well. Yeah. And I just hired my daughter. She travels with us.
That's beautiful.
Just looking at growing it even more. And so if people want to book the museum, just hit me up at blackhistorymobilemuseum.com, blackhistorymobilemuseum.com, or you can call me personally at 313-645-4197. And then the film is being shown right now on Quelle TV.
Okay.
Yep, it's on Quelle. So, just get a subscription to Quelle, which is a dope streaming service. Black streaming service is amazing. It has films from all over the world. So, check me out on there. And man, it's been great being here with you, bro.
Oh man, I loved it, man. And I loved it. So now I gotta hit you with the classic Detroit is Different questions now. Very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
1983-ish. Monza. I don't even know who made Monza. and I paid $300 for it. My mother told me not to get it.
Hilarious.
But I was like, I'm getting it. And I was driving up to Mumford High School with that joint every day. And that joint one day got stolen in the parking lot. And probably best that it did because it was a piece of junk, man.
Hilarious.
But yeah, that was the first car.
Okay, where's the first place you went when you got it?
Probably Church's Chicken on 8 Mile and
Hey,
it's just around the block.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, not too far.
All right. Next question. You're the DJ at the end of the fireworks, Woodward and Jefferson. You get to play 2 songs. What songs you playing?
Oh man. I don't know what songs I would play. Public Enemy's Fight the Power. Okay. That's one. And probably Ass. Stevie Wonder, Ass.
I love that. I love both those records, definitely. And we will close with this one. You could rename Detroit after Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
Mother Irma Henderson. Simply because she was just the epitome of just that believer in everything Detroit, and Detroit can be better if you just serve the city. She was someone of I didn't mention this, but I gotta mention it.
Okay.
I grew up in a household where I had access because of my mother of many different political people in the city. So who were friends of my mother.
Okay.
So Clyde Cleveland was a friend.
Oh man.
But Auntie Barbara Rose Collins was a very good friend of my mother's. I used to talk to her every night, man.
Wow.
So I was very close to her. And then Sister Kay Everett.
Okay.
Shout out to Kay Everett and her daughter. They were very close to the family.
Okay.
As well. And then Daisy Elliott was a close family friend as well. So I mean, having that type of access, hearing those types of stories from different people in political spaces, man, it was it was amazing. But Irma Henderson was a family friend, going back to my grandparents. So had opportunities to talk to her. But yeah, Irma Henderson, she's just one of my favorite Detroiters. In a park is good. Having Woodward Avenue named after her. I mean that's inspiration.
I think definitely as I know through my godmother Joanne Watson and the relationship. Both my godmothers,
and that Joanne Watson, man. Wow. She was a huge inspiration too.
Yeah, I was gonna say
someone had access to and saw quite often.
Her and my other godmother that I know you knew very well too, Orthea Barnes, both of them.
Yes.
Were godchildren of Mama Henderson.
Very spiritual women. Both brothers.
Yeah, that definitely connected and friends. Good laugh with both of them, but you definitely gonna laugh way more with Orthea. But
right. Yeah, but I mean, Detroit was just is even today it's just a rich space, man. And Yeah, man. I you know, it's shaped everything about me, man. So
That's deep.
love the city, bro.
Yeah, man. You this summer you like back in the D for the first time and
Yeah.
right there off Dexter connecting
Absolutely.
with the people. So it's
Yes,
like, oh
sir.
man, I'm used to this.
Yeah. It's home, bro.
All
It's
day.
home. Yeah.
All day. With that being said, thank you so much. Thank you
bro.
so much.
This was an honor.
Always, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.
Detroit is different.